In Nigeria's capital city, Abuja, a place known for its towering ministries, diplomatic residences, and polished streets, there existed another side few ever dared to speak about. Beneath the polished exterior of government buildings and manicured roundabouts lay the restless pulse of a city hiding its shadows. Behind the glamour and order, a silent war was brewing, one between the guardians of the law and those who lived to defy it. It began not with a gunshot or a headline, but with a whisper. In a dusty neighborhood on the edge of town, just beyond Gwagwalada, people had started locking their doors earlier than usual. The local meat sellers and roadside pepper vendors, once lively into the night, had started folding up by dusk. Bikemen murmured about strange sightings on the expressway, about convoys of jeeps passing without plate numbers, always with tinted glass and a trail of dust. 3 banks in 1 week. Silent, surgical, ruthless. No alarms tripped, no trace left. Only frozen CCTV footage of masked men moving like ghosts. Police blamed it on internal conspiracies, but the street had a different name for it. One whispered with both fear and twisted admiration. Nobody knew where the name came from. Some said it was the number of men in the gang. Others said it was the number of hours they needed to plan, execute, and vanish without a trace. But what people did know, what they began to see, was that the 24 clan was not an ordinary group of criminals. These weren't petty thieves or desperate boys with rusted pistols. These were men trained like soldiers, smart, coordinated, and absolutely brutal. The first confirmed sighting of the gang wasn't even in Abuja itself. It was in Suleja. A quiet Friday morning turned bloody when the first microbank branch near Old Barracks was hit with precision that stunned even the military veterans in town. The robbers arrived in 4 SUVs, each vehicle painted matte black, with customized alloy wheels and modified engines that growled like beasts. There were no number plates, no identifiers. Within seconds, they disarmed the private guards, who later confessed they'd been outgunned and terrified. They didn't just steal money. They collected all the phones from everyone inside, took the DVR from the CCTV system, disabled the alarm, and vanished in under 11 minutes. 11 minutes. The kind of precision that made security agencies admit these men had military training, or worse, ex-military gone rogue. The media picked it up briefly. Well-coordinated robbery in Suleja, 75 million naira stolen. But it was what came after that turned this from a crime story into a legend. Because that very same night, just 7 hours after the Suleja hit, another robbery occurred, this time in Kubwa. A different bank, same method, same vehicles, same silence. It was then that the public realized this wasn't an isolated attack. This was a campaign. Police officials scrambled. The IGP formed a task force. Names were whispered in closed-door meetings. Drones were deployed. Intelligence agencies began to trace telecom signals, satellite parts, money trails. Nothing. It was like chasing ghosts through fog. But someone had a lead. Detective Hassan Usman, a rugged, chain-smoking inspector known for his work in the anti-cult unit, had been following something similar for months. He had connected dots no one had bothered to look at. 6 unsolved bank robberies over the past 18 months across Nasarawa, Niger, and Kogi State, all with the same pattern. Hassan believed this wasn't a new gang. It was just the first time they had become bold enough to enter Abuja. And that meant one terrifying thing. They were getting confident. He took his findings to his superior, but the report was buried. Too many top officials were already on edge, admitting a major security failure in the heart of the capital during an election year, unthinkable. So Hassan went rogue. Quietly. Off book. And in doing so, he stumbled upon something that changed everything. He discovered a man named Dogo. Not his real name, of course, but that was the only name anyone dared use. Dogo was an ex-soldier dishonorably discharged for arms trafficking, vanished off the radar 5 years ago. Rumor had it he'd built a militia of dismissed soldiers and militants from the creeks, men trained to kill without conscience, men with scores to settle. And Dogo, according to Hassan's source, wasn't just leading the 24 clan. He was building something far more dangerous. In the underworld of Nigeria's most dangerous men, Dogo was not just a name, it was a warning. He was said to be nearly 7 feet tall, broad-chested like a bear, and dark-skinned with tribal marks that ran like cracks across his face. Those who had seen him and lived to speak described a man with eyes that never blinked. Eyes that didn't just look at you, but through you. Some believed he had fought in wars across West Africa, Liberia, Sierra Leone, even Chad. Others swore he had once been a Nigerian military instructor who trained special forces before he was expelled for selling weapons to insurgents. But no one could verify the truth. Because Dogo had no digital footprint, no NIN, no verifiable bank accounts, nothing. To the Nigerian government, he didn't exist. But to the streets of Abuja, he was a god. He moved like a shadow, appearing only at night, always surrounded by his most trusted lieutenants. He didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't even flirt with women. His focus was singular: to build a criminal empire that could match and embarrass the Nigerian state. An empire with a military chain of command, strict codes, ruthless punishments, and an army of men willing to die at his command. Detective Hassan Usman knew that if the rumors about Dogo were even halfway true, Abuja was on the brink of something terrifying. So he began investigating quietly, tracing black market arms sales, interviewing old informants, visiting remote villages where Dogo's name had surfaced during cult clashes or highway robberies. Piece by piece, a picture emerged. Dogo was using Abuja as a testing ground. He had created 3 autonomous robbery squads, each consisting of 6 to 8 men, trained like SWAT teams. Each group had a leader, a tech expert, a getaway driver, 2 gunners, and 1 cleaner, a man whose job was to erase all evidence, including shooting witnesses if necessary. Each squad operated independently, but all answered to one man, Dogo. His motivation wasn't just money. That much was clear. The robberies went sloppy smash and grabs. They were coordinated military operations. He would steal, vanish, lie low, then strike again. Always with a new technique, new location, and new mask. One of Hassan's most critical breakthroughs came through a prison informant named Uche Reza Ize. Reza had once been a street enforcer in Kogi and claimed to have done odd jobs for Dogo's men before being locked up. For 3 cartons of cigarettes and the promise of legal protection for his wife and child, Reza revealed a chilling detail. Dogo's network was larger than anyone imagined. According to Reza, Dogo had men embedded in police units, not just informants, but actual uniformed officers who helped tip off operations, delay patrols, and redirect investigations. Some were even part of SARS units. Reza said he doesn't just outgun the system, he outsmarts it. And then Reza said something that haunted Hassan for nights after. Oga, Dogo not a rob for fun, he dey train. All these banks where they hit na rehearsal. When time reach, you go know wetin be real attack. This wasn't a robbery spree, it was preparation. And that's when Hassan realized Dogo wasn't just Abuja's problem. He was a national threat. He submitted a second report, more detailed, with names, locations, and photos. Again, it was dismissed. This time with a warning. You're playing with fire, Hassan. Back off. This is above your pay grade. But Hassan had never been the kind of man to run. He needed proof. He needed someone inside the 24 clan. And fate handed him that chance in the form of a young woman named Halima. Halima Danladi was the last person anyone would suspect to be involved in something so dark. She was 24, strikingly beautiful, and worked as a secretary in a small accounting firm in Jabi. But Halima carried secrets like shadows under her skin. Beneath the soft voice and graceful movements was a storm that had been building for years. Her brother Yusuf had once served in the army but vanished after a court-martial over missing weapons during a peacekeeping mission. The last she heard, he had joined a group of men operating outside the borders. Mercenaries, some said. Bandits, others whispered. She never knew what happened to him until he came back one night. It was 2 years after his disappearance. Halima had been walking home from a night shift when a matte black SUV pulled up beside her on a quiet street. She froze. The windows rolled down slowly, and there he was, Yusuf, wearing camo pants, a black tank top, and a cold expression that didn't belong to the brother she knew. He didn't hug her, didn't ask about their mother. He just said, "I have work for you." Halima was pulled into the underworld that night. At first, her job was simple. Flirt with bankers, gather building layouts, memorize camera locations, steal staff schedules. Then, it got darker. She was asked to plant SIM cards, monitor police chatter, and deliver brown envelopes to men in high places. She never saw Dogo, only heard of him like everyone else. But she knew the men who followed him. She knew their codes, their rituals, their habits. And then one day, her brother didn't come home. He had been sent on a heist in Nyanya that went sideways. Police responded quicker than expected. 3 gang members were killed. Yusuf was one of them. When Dogo heard what happened, he didn't mourn. He only punished. Halima watched as the surviving members of the squad were tied to stakes in a cassava field and executed, not for failing, but for being careless, for drawing attention, for embarrassing the mission. That was when something inside her snapped. She didn't run. She didn't scream. She plotted. She wanted revenge. And the only person who could help her was the man she had been told to avoid at all cost, Detective Hassan Usman. Their meeting was pure accident or fate. Halima had followed one of Dogo's lieutenants into a hidden compound in Lugbi, intending to poison his drink and cause a ripple of confusion in their ranks. But she had been spotted, beaten, dragged into a car, and that car had been stopped at a checkpoint manned by Hassan's unit. It was supposed to be routine, the kind of thing the 24 clan usually paid their way through. But Halima had managed to whisper a single word as the officer leaned in. Help. Her voice was hoarse, her lip was bleeding, but Hassan heard her. That checkpoint turned into a shootout. 2 gang members were killed. Halima was rescued. For the first time, someone inside the 24 clan was in custody. She didn't talk immediately. But after days of silence and the promise that Dogo would be hunted down, she gave Hassan what he had been praying for. Maps, names, photos, hideouts. She drew out the structure of the 24 clan like a web. It was worse than Hassan imagined. "You think Dogo wants money," she said. "Money is nothing. He wants fear. He wants power and is preparing for something. Something big. Something soon." Hassan now had intelligence, proof, a witness, but he also had a target on his back because Dogo had eyes everywhere. And he knew Halima had disappeared. And worse, he knew who took her. Detective Hassan knew the rules of the game had just changed. He was no longer just investigating the 24 clan. He had become their enemy. The day Halima was pulled from that SUV, Hassan had signed a death warrant, and it wouldn't take long before Dogo came collecting. The police tried to play smart. They moved Halima into protective custody deep inside the Force Intelligence Bureau's safe house in Asokoro. Only a handful of trusted officers knew the location, But Hassan had been in this game long enough to know what kind of men he was dealing with. Dogo didn't use brute force as a first resort. He preferred to unpick a man's life one wire at a time. Friends, family, allies. And if that didn't work, he'd strike fast, violent, and public. So when Hassan began noticing strange vehicles parked for too long near his home in Garki, when his younger sister got a call from an unknown number telling her to say goodbye to your brother, he knew the ambush was coming. What he didn't know was where or when. That answer came on a Monday afternoon. It was 3:17 p.m. The Abuja sun was high, the traffic on Airport Road thick as usual. A convoy of Hilux vans transporting 4 undercover officers and Halima back from a low profile caught the briefing. They are taking a less common route, avoiding major highways and commercial areas. The vehicles were unmarked. The officers were armed. But it wasn't enough. Just before the bridge, near the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport Junction, a bus in front of them screeched to a stop. Not suddenly, but deliberately, as if it had rehearsed the moment. 2 seconds later, 2 SUVs boxed them in from the sides, and a petrol tanker behind them swerved to block the road completely. They were trapped. Out of the SUVs came a wave of masked men, 12, maybe more, each carrying high-powered rifles. Their movements were terrifyingly coordinated. Not a single wasted motion. It was clear. These weren't ordinary criminals. This was Dogo's retaliation. The officer in the lead vehicle reached for the radio, but the signal had already been jammed. What followed was a bloodbath. Gunshots tore through the air, sending surrounding vehicles screeching off-road. Hassan, who was riding in the second car, dove behind the engine block as bullets shattered glass and riddled metal. He saw one of his men take a round to the neck. Another was dragged from the car and executed on the spot. But Halima was the real prize. The attackers didn't try to kill her. They came to take her. 3 men approached the rear door of the third car fast, surgical. But Halima was ready. She had seen what happened to women who got captured by the clan. She wasn't going back. By the time they yanked the door open, she had already pulled the sidearm from the unconscious officer beside her and emptied the entire magazine into the chest of the first man. The second one hesitated. She didn't. She tackled him, grabbed his rifle and fired blindly toward the road divider. It gave Hassan the moment he needed. Crawling through shattered glass, bleeding from the arm, he tossed a smoke grenade from the glove box, obscuring their vision. He reached Halima, yanked her by the arm and screamed, "Run!" They bolted into the bush off the roadside, abandoning the wreckage, the sirens, the bodies. By the time backup arrived, 7 officers were dead. Halima and Hassan were gone. So were 3 of the attackers, burned to ash when the petrol tanker mysteriously exploded. But in the chaos, something strange happened. One of the dead attackers dropped a small tablet. It had been damaged in the fire, but the tech unit recovered a partial video file. What they saw confirmed Hassan's worst fears. A meeting. 12 men seated around a wooden table. Faces blurred, voices distorted. Maps of Abuja spread out. Government buildings circled. Tactical plans drawn in chalk. Explosives, gun trucks, Dogo at the head of the table wearing a skull mask. And then a chilling voice. The rehearsal is over. It's time to show Abuja who truly controls the night. The video changed everything. Until now, even the highest levels of the Nigerian police force believed the robberies were random. Brutal, yes, but still ordinary. But the recovered video from the fallen gang members' tablet made it clear. Abuja wasn't just the target. It was a battlefield waiting to be claimed. Dogo wasn't just running a robbery syndicate. He was preparing for a military-style takeover of Nigeria's capital. The intelligence unit worked day and night to decode what was left of the video. With Halima's help, they identified a warehouse in Kuje marked as a logistics point. Another location in Karu, possibly a weapons cache. But the most dangerous of all was a marked zone in the heart of Garki, adjacent to a government financial hub. According to Halima, Dogo had 3 things he needed for the siege. 1. A public distraction, a city-wide panic to overwhelm response units. 2. Access to armored vehicles and RPGs, which he was acquiring through ex-military arms dealers. 3. One inside man, someone inside the Abuja Police Command who could delay reinforcements. And worst of all, he was close, very close. Every day counted now. Hassan went underground with Halima, hiding them in a retired colonel's farmhouse outside Buari. The Inspector General finally authorized a covert strike team to intercept Dogo's next move. But morale was low. The force had suffered heavy losses. Officers were terrified, and some had started refusing assignments that mentioned the 24 clan. Still, Hassan pressed on. Halima had become more than an asset. She was the only one who truly knew Dogo's patterns, his arrogance, and his weakness. He never hides for long. He always comes to watch the first fire. And then the fire came. It happened on a Thursday. At exactly 9:12 a.m., 2 simultaneous explosions rocked Abuja. The first was at a major fuel depot near the city gates. The fireball could be seen for miles. Emergency services scrambled. The second, less dramatic but deadlier, was a coordinated assault on the Central Bank mini branch in Garki. Armed men stormed the premises wearing police tactical uniforms. People thought it was a raid until the first grenade exploded in the hallway. Inside chaos, Dogo's men looted vaults, gunned down security personnel, and live-streamed part of the assault on a burner social media account. But this wasn't the main event. It was bait. As units rushed to Garki, Dogo made his real move in Wise. His team intercepted a prison van transferring high-profile criminals, including a tech genius named Bashiru, aka Cypher, rumored to be the man behind the encrypted comms system used by the 24 clan. Bashiru was broken out in under 4 minutes. The streets of Abuja erupted. Markets closed. Schools went into lockdown. Civilians fled. Every checkpoint was overwhelmed. Rumors spread like wildfire. They are taking over the city. But Hassan saw through it. He knew Dogo wouldn't move in broad daylight unless he was preparing for something surgical, something symbolic. So while the city bled and the government panicked, Hassan took a small team, Halima included, and followed an old lead from Reza the informant. An underground tunnel in Apo, supposedly built during the military era, a place Dogo had once used as a weapons depot. They went in quietly. What they found would shake Nigeria's intelligence community for years. Inside the tunnel were blueprints for not just banks, but for communication towers, military barracks, and government data centers. They also found radio intercepts from Dogo's team, discussing the date, October 1st, Independence Day. The siege wasn't just an idea, it had a clock. The deeper Hassan dug, the more dangerous it became. And then it happened. The betrayal. An internal leak exposed Hassan's team's location in Apo. The hideout was ambushed that night. 3 officers killed. Halima was shot in the shoulder. Hassan barely escaped. The entire safe house was burned. Someone high up was feeding Dogo real-time intel. Hassan was done playing quiet. He confronted his superior, Deputy Commissioner Gambo, a man known for ambition and backdoor deals, but even Gambo seemed shocked at the scale of the operation. That same night, an anonymous file dropped into Hassan's hands via a courier. Inside, photos of Gambo receiving money from a familiar face. DSP Godwin Weke, an officer from the anti-terror unit, respected, decorated, and the inside man Dogo needed. Hassan set a trap. He staged a fake raid briefing in the CID building and accidentally included Godwin. Less than 2 hours later, the exact location was leaked to a known 24 clan burner number. It was him. They arrested Godwin at his home in Ware that same night. And under intense interrogation, he cracked. He revealed the final stage of the plan. They are coming for the presidential data center. That's the real target. Not the banks, not the people. Dogo wants to erase everything. Financial records, national security files, criminal cases, identity databases. He wants to force a reset. He wants to make the government beg. The president declared a full lockdown. Abuja turned into a fortress overnight. The military took over major checkpoints. Drones filled the sky. A no-fly zone was established. But even that wasn't enough. Dogo's men had already embedded themselves into the city in small, undetectable units. Bike riders, janitors, private security staff. The countdown to October 1st had begun. Hassan was appointed to lead Operation Blackwall, a multi-agency counter-strike involving the police, DSS, army, and international intel agencies. For the first time, Nigeria treated Dogo's gang as a national threat, equal to terrorism. And at the center of the plan was Halima. Though injured, she returned to the field, leading undercover routes and pointing out familiar faces she had once walked beside. She showed them old safe houses, coded hand signs, supply routes. The operation was brutal. Over 41 gang members were captured in 4 days. Explosives were recovered, tunnels sealed. But Dogo vanished until the final day. On October 1st, as Nigeria marked Independence Day, Dogo finally emerged. His convoy, disguised as fire service trucks, attempted to breach the data center perimeter under the chaos of parade noise and firework distractions. But Hassan was ready. Hidden snipers, jammed comms, decoy buildings. The final standoff lasted 47 minutes. A full-blown gunfight erupted in the streets behind the data complex. Dogo's men came with everything: grenades, LMGs, tactical drones. But this time, the law was waiting. Dogo tried to flee on foot through the sewage tunnels, his usual exit route, but Hassan followed. What happened inside that tunnel was never fully disclosed to the public. Some say they fought, others say they simply talked. What is known, Hassan emerged covered in blood, and Dogo's body was never found. No official statement was released, but the attack stopped. 6 months later, Abuja is healing. Banks reopened. Confidence is returning. Halima was quietly relocated through a witness protection program and given a new identity abroad. Reza, the prison informant, was found dead in his cell, hanged with his shoelaces. And Hassan? He retired. Quietly, refused all interviews, moved to Kaduna, bought a small farm. But sometimes, when the city is silent at night, rumors return. That Dogo isn't really dead. That the 24 clan is regrouping under a new name. That this was never about money, it was about control.